So I'm about to confess something that many Virgin Voyages sailors wouldn't admit to, and that is we are complete cheapskates when we sail. And that simply means we wouldn't spend money where we don't need to. And after sailing on Virgin Voyages dozens of times, we found the perfect formula to head off the ship with a $0 bill. And there's actually been some occasions where we've managed to get money back from the ship before we head on to land. If we haven't met before, my name is David from VV Insider, which is a website all about Virgin Voyages, including all the guides, the information, and the news that you need to know if you're heading on board the Virgin Voyages ships. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at everything you'll need to know if you don't want to spend any extra money when you're on board the ship. And although this might sound absolutely impossible on the surface, I'm going to talk you through 6 hidden ways that Virgin Voyages let you get away with what feels like robbery. Then if you stick around to the end, I have that bonus tip where you might be able to take real hard cash off the ship instead of you having to pay them anything at all. So let's jump right in with tip number 1. And this one will be fairly obvious to anyone who's watched any of these videos before, or if you've used the tools on our website. And that is, before you head on board, make sure that your bar tab is completely spoken for. The cost of alcoholic beverages on Virgin Voyages is really the only thing that you're going to always have to pay for. There's no magic wand here. But luckily for most sailors, you can just calculate exactly how much you're going to spend on drinks by using the bar tab calculator. If you head over to vvinsider.com/calculator, stick in the details of your voyage and just pay for exactly the bar tab that you need and no more. You don't want to be leaving any bar tab on the table because the bar tab is a use it or lose it type of scheme. If you do have any bar tab credit still available on your account at the very end of your voyage, then you do forfeit that. So do make sure that you use the calculator to figure out exactly what you're going to need. And not only does prepaying for your drinks mean that you can get that $0 bill when you leave the ship, but it also means that you'll benefit from those offers of the extra additional credit when you put on certain chunks of bar tab, and we can help you figure all that out. But we talked about bar tab so much on this channel, let's skip ahead to tip number 2. So although you're armed with your pre-calculated bar tab, you know exactly what you're going to be spending on drinks, it's always nice to get a free drink or two along the way. And there's actually a number of ways you can do this. The first way is really obvious and you've probably heard about it before, but never miss the sail away drinks. This happens during the big pool party, the sail away celebration as you're leaving your embarkation port. If you head up there, you'll see a performance by the Happenings cast, and they'll be handing out glasses of bubbly as well. Often people make the mistake of calling this free champagne. It's not exactly champagne, but it's free, it's sparkling wine. Some people don't like it, but I feel like they might be being a little bit snobby and pretending that they like finer champagne instead. But if you want fine champagne, you can always buy it at the bar if you want to. Remember, nobody's counting your glasses of free bubbly at this event, so if you want to grab some more, then you're very welcome to do that in the time that it's provided. Speaking of free champagne, if you're sailing as a rock star, or of course a mega rock star, and you have access to Richard's rooftop, then you can head along to the 5 p.m. happy hour where you can get free glasses of champagne on tap. You simply need to order just like you normally would at the bar, or ask your Rockstar agent if they happen to be up there. This is a really good perk and it's not one to be missed. We've had friends that have sailed Rockstar in the past and have planned their days around making sure they can get to that 5 o'clock happy hour. And of course, if you're paying for the privilege, then you do have to make the most of it. It's not just champagne in the happy hour, you can order a whole variety of different drinks. If you're looking for the menu, we have it on our website at vvinsider.com. Some more free drinks can be found in the lineup. If you have a look, there's often events hosted in the high street that are promoting certain items from the stores. If you check the details in the app for these events, you can head along and get a complimentary beverage as you get a talk by the shop assistant and browse the different items. There are also opportunities to get a free bracelet on board certain ships, so if you ask a member of the high street shops about that, they'll tell you exactly where you'll need to go for that, so that's a little bit of a hidden bonus. And if you really want to work for those free drinks, there are a few options to do that as well. If you go along to certain trivias and activities hosted by the Happenings cast, if you participate and win, you'll often be rewarded by free drinks vouchers that can be redeemed on your voyage. These are quite lucrative because it means you can order something fairly premium from the menu without having to pay for it at all. You can win these vouchers by winning quizzes, participating in on-stage game shows. There's a whole number of ways that you can get these free drinks. Also on Scarlet Night, if you see the cast meandering around, Certain members of the cast will be able to offer you a free drink as part of a toast as well. So do get involved and get to know both your happenings cast and the cast that come out on Scarlet Night as well. Tip number 3 is all about food. And mostly on Virgin Voyages, the food is included, but you do have to be a little bit careful here because there are some menu items that you do have to pay for. These are things called treat yourself items. And the treat yourself items are often larger or more extravagant dishes available on the menus across the ship. These tend to be quite expensive, and in our opinion, we've tried a lot of them and they are lovely, but we wouldn't necessarily be spending the money on them every time we sail. So instead of going for these expensive menu items, instead look for things that are ship specific. In Extra Virgin, there are items on the menu that are specifically designed for the ship that you're sailing on. You may also ask your waiter if there are any specials available that night as well. If you try those tips, you can try something a little bit unique on the menu without having to spend extra money on those treat yourself items. So just stay savvy when you're looking at those restaurant menus. And in general on Virgin Voyages, the serving staff are trained very well. So if you're looking for a particular recommendation, simply ask them and they'll point you in the right direction of something delicious without having to spend any extra. And if you're looking to simply celebrate something, just tell the server that you're celebrating something and they'll see what they can do. It doesn't necessarily need to cost you extra money. Tip number 4 is all about making the most of the included activities on board. On this channel, we have looked at a lot of activities across the fleet, and some of those activities do carry a charge. And in general, the ones that you have to pay for are the ones that include alcohol or cocktails, or the ones that include exclusive food items that you wouldn't be able to get elsewhere. But actually, the included and the free events on Virgin Voyages are really fantastic. So if you fill out your schedule with those free events, you don't need to worry about having to pay for those premium ones. And there's a really huge variety of free events, things that you need to get involved with, but also things that you can just sit back and watch. Over on vvinsider.com/events, we've got an entire list of all the main programming that you're going to see on board of the ship. This is everything from those big headline events in the Red Room all the way down to those games and trivias that happen with just a few other sailors. The included activities on Virgin Voyages are second to none, especially those ones that involve wellness and fitness. These are generally the ones on other cruise lines that you would have to pay exorbitant fees for. Well, on Virgin Voyages, all of the wellness and fitness activities are included as part of your voyage fare. So just make sure that you're making the most of all of those different types of entertainment and activities. Like I said before, participating in some of these activities will give you the opportunity to win free drinks and take away prizes. For example, there's a new game show on Valiant Lady called Nice Bops, where every single person who participates in the event gets to take away a prize or a souvenir from the show. And the quality and recommended retail price of some of these prizes are actually quite surprising. Also, some of the creative and artistic activities that you'll come across will actually involve you making something that you can take home as a souvenir free of charge. This could be as simple as painting on a small canvas, or creating your own friendship bracelet. As well, there's a brand new free activity on Valiant Lady and Brilliant Lady, which is called the Upcycle Club. And this is all about making trinkets and souvenirs out of things that were previously thrown away from the ship, including things like cut up pieces of the red boiler suits that the crew wear, but also cut up pieces of those big canvases that you see during the artist event Live Life Colourfully. We've heard some really good reviews and comments about that particular event, so if it's available on your ship, give it a go. You might walk away with something free and something wonderful to take home with you. Now, we're not just talking about the ship here. Tip number 5 is all about saving money when you get into port. And it's very tempting, especially if you haven't cruised before, to think that you're going to need a port excursion at every single port. Well, we've done voyages where we've not done a single port excursion and simply went our own way and did our own thing when we went on land. I will say when we were new to cruising, we always were terrified of missing the cruise ship on the way back and having to either fly home or fly to the next port to catch up with the ship. That is a real fear and it definitely can happen, but you just need to make sure that you're planning ahead. This fear of ours was the thing that led us to booking port excursions every single time we ended up at a port, and this can get really expensive. Something as simple as having a guided walk around the town that you arrive at can cost something like $70 or $80 when you could have very easily just walked off the ship and did the exact same thing yourself with maybe a little help from a quick internet search. Well, here's an opportunity to do your research and plan ahead. Take a look at the ports that you're going to arrive at. A lot of people will already have visited the ports and be able to give you an idea of what to expect. It's good to know whether you're going to have a big bus journey from the port to the destination. So for example, the port in Rome is about 90 minutes bus journey away from the ship. So this might be an indication that it's worth doing something a bit more pre-planned in this type of port. But then other ports, for example, Ibiza, a free shuttle bus is provided by the port itself, which will take you very close to the old town, and you'll be able to walk around and have a look yourself without having to pay any extra at all. This is why it's really important to do that research before you spend any extra money on port excursions. Just always be mindful that it is your responsibility to get back to the ship before sail away. There can be quite dire consequences if you don't make it back to the ship in time, including the possibility that your vacation is cut short entirely. So just be extra careful with that one. Now, tip number 6 is all about protecting your $0 balance. And this is really important because the way that the ship works is that charges are done automatically to your cabin, either by a crew member asking you to tap your wristband against their device, or the crew members can charge an account by simply putting in your cabin number. This does mean that mistakes can happen, so just be very mindful to check your account on the Virgin Voyages app. You can see an area called Wallet, and this will tell you exactly how much you've spent or how much you haven't spent. It's always worth keeping an eagle eye on there just to make sure you haven't accidentally bought something you hadn't meant to. Also, if these charges are important to you, it's worth asking members of staff before you commit to anything whether a charge is associated with it. Often, if there is a charge associated with something, it's made very clear to you. But if you're ever unsure, simply ask the crew member and they'll be able to help you. If there are any discrepancies and you have been charged for something you didn't mean to, always make sure you head down to Sailor Services for them to sort it out. You can of course use the messaging function on the app, but often you can get things sorted a bit quicker if you head down to Sailor Services. Being mindful of your balance and fixing problems as they occur is really important because a lot of people do leave it until the very last minute before they disembark, and there's a massive line at Sailor Services on the last day. So if you don't want to end your voyage that way, just make sure you keep an eye on your wallet. Now, before we get to that bonus tip where I tell you how you might be able to walk away with some cash, here's a few quick fire tips that most people miss when they head on board. The first thing is about how to get rid of that $10 delivery fee when you're ordering something from Ship Eats. Ship Eats is the room service that's available to every cabin on board the ship, and you can order this either by using the tablet in the room or using your app depending on the ship. Most people don't use this service because it costs $10 every time you do it. Well, actually, you don't have to spend that $10 each time. Instead, what you can do, and particularly if you still got a bar tab balance, you can actually just order something that's worth more than $10 on the app. So this can be things like cans of beer, cans of cocktails, or even just coffees. And as long as you spend more than $10, you won't be charged that additional $10 delivery fee. This is a really good way of using up any additional bar tab that you may have, and those cans come in quite useful if you want to keep them in your fridge and take them to Bimini or take them by the pool, for example. Another tip here is to make sure that you're making the most of your loyalty status. So if you do have a loyalty status with Virgin Voyages, that will either be Blue Extras or Deep Blue Extras. You do get some included things with that. So for example, things like the free laundry, or with Deep Blue Extras, you get your premium Wi-Fi, and you also get 2 premium coffees per person as well. And even if you're not a big coffee drinker, being able to offer a free coffee to somebody waiting in line is always a nice thing to do as well. Well, you've waited long enough, and this is my extra bonus tip on how you could potentially walk off the ship with some extra money in your pocket. And don't worry, it's not something that's against the rules and going to get anyone in trouble. It's actually all about using your promotional sailor loot in the right way. So if you're lucky enough to have booked your Virgin voyage with some promotional sailor loot included, and this can happen sometimes because there are seasonal offers where you get free sailor loot, or if you've used vvinsider.com/book, and used our sail forward loot offer, where we can give you extra sailor loot just by booking through us, you might end up sailing with potentially a few $100s in additional sailor loot for you to spend when you go on board. Well, Sailor Loot is different from Bar Tab, where you can actually spend it on more than just drinks. This means you can buy things from the souvenir shops, or you can use it for port excursions or spa treatments. But all of these things generally are quite expensive, and sometimes if you're looking for souvenirs, they're maybe too bulky to fit in the suitcase, so you're left wondering, what can I do with this additional loot? Well, actually, there's a hidden way that you can turn some of this into cash, and that's all about using it in the casino. We're not necessarily big gamblers ourselves, and this tip is of course used at your own risk. You can of course lose all the money you put into the casino, that's very possible. But if, for example, you have an additional $100 in Sailor Loot, if you take that to the casino and play it on games, there are some certain restrictions. So if you use it on slot machines, for example, there is some level of return that you'll get from your Sailor Loot. You could of course strike lucky and end up with more money than your Sailor Loot, but realistically, you're always going to end up with a portion of your Sailor Loot that you'll be able to cash out from the casino. The important thing to remember here is that you do need to play this promotional Sailor Loot before you can take it out. So you'll only be able to withdraw your winnings, not what you put into the casino. So it is kept separate. If you're ever wondering about your balances here or want to understand what you've got in promotional loot and what you've got in winnings, you can either use the machine on the slot machines, or you can ask a member of the casino staff and they'll be more than willing to help. If that sounds interesting to you, but you're not seeing any deals that have promotional Sailor Loot available, if you head over to vvinsider.com/book, we actually have an entire list of sailings where, as long as you're booking either a Sea Terrace category or above, you can get that additional promotional Sailor Loot. That's just free money that, again, you can spend on anything or play it in the casino. It's entirely up to you. Not only will you get that additional promotional Sailor Loot included, but you'll also be booking with us, and we are the #1 independent resource for Virgin Voyages information. There really isn't anything about Virgin Voyages that we don't know, so it's always worth having an expert insider on your side when you're booking your next voyage. Not just that, but it also helps support the work that we do here, including producing these videos of guides and tips and updates and news, but also all of the tools and the content that we make available for free on our website as well. So we'd really appreciate your support if you'd like to trust your next booking with us. If you found this video useful, we've got tons of guides and videos just like this on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you hit subscribe so that you get notifications when we bring out new videos just like this. And we're also helping out a very special group of insiders who are our YouTube members, who have signed up not only to support our channel, but are also getting access to a new hidden series of videos that we're producing to let you know some secrets and some tales from our voyages that are only made for that very small group of people. So if you'd like to learn more about that and support our channel, then I've included the information here for you. But I just want to briefly thank these wonderful people that have already pledged their support to the work that we're doing here at VV Insider. It's very, very much appreciated. It was 3 years ago that I was sitting in this very room designing and building the website that would eventually become VV Insider. And in our next hidden video, I'm going to tell you the whole tale of exactly why we decided to do that. So if you decide to join us as a YouTube member, as either a rock star or a mega rock star, then you'll get access to that hidden video where I'm going to talk you through exactly why we started the website, all the way through all the crazy things that have happened in the last 3 years, including the launch of Brilliant Lady, meeting Richard Branson, everything like that. I'm going to spill all the beans. Well, for everyone here on YouTube, I'll be back next week with a new Virgin Voyages Insider update, where I'm going to tell you all the latest news and everything that's changed across the brand over the past 2 weeks. But until I see you then, happy sailing.